Hello, my absolutely beautiful Scorpio friends, and welcome to your horoscope for 2025. And Scorpio, I want to tell you right away, first of all, there's timestamps in the description box to watch every section of this video. And that this video was crafted by 5 astrologers, each an expert in their lane that they're going to talk to you about in their department of life. And it was crafted for you to have an experience with this video this year, not to just throw information at you, Scorpio. It's for you to listen to a section at a time, really breathe in, get all the juice out of it, and then have an experience with the next section. I'm going to be taking you through all the general transits, and I'll also be with you every day on Instagram and every week and every month here on YouTube as well. Rachel Lang is going to talk to you about the area of your life having to do with your relationships and what does the astrology say about that. Sama is taking you into your financial astrology, and when I say he's taking you into it, he is taking you into it. Kira is going to bring her medical magic and talk about your year in terms of your health and your medical practices. And Tiffany is going to bring us home at the end of this video in a delicious space of spiritual development. How do you work with that karma, that dharma? What do you need to release? Where do you need to grow? So this is for you to soak up section by section and have an experience with it this year, okay? Now, Scorpio, in the description box down below as well are your 2025 digital transit calendars. If you do not have that, to bring those transits right to your phone, right to your hand, right to your device and tell you, hey, the moon is going void of course in 30 minutes. Let's make a plan to just slow down because life is kind. There's time to rest and breathe and reflect, right? If you don't have that, click down there, use my code, get a discount on it, and let's be ready in terms of our astro resources for 2025. And if you are ready to learn to speak the language of astrology, Scorpio, if 2025 is your year to start or to go deeper, I would love to have you in my astrology courses. Everything is in the description box down below for you, okay? All right, Scorpio, so this year, Jupiter moving into Cancer is going to bring a space of more personal exploration for you, being a fellow water energy. So it is a year where I can say it's certainly around things with family or children. It's a bit more emotional for you, and we'll really get into that. But Saturn and Neptune also moving into Aries are going to bring more structure and a redesigning to your daily routine and the things around your health. Now, Uranus is going to move into Gemini and absolutely encourage you to go to the level of deeper connection. There's going to be deeper connection, fresh approaches. You're going to share your resources and your power very, very differently. And I think it's a way that maybe you've been even craving, but you felt like you were stuck and couldn't get there for a while. So let's jump in, Scorpio, and see what the general transits have to offer you for 2025. Scorpio, yes, 2025 has got your attention, especially around the growth of your daily routines, your health, your wellness, and Jupiter moving into Cancer, Uranus shaking things up in the 8th house. This is definitely a year where we're going to look at how your health and wellness practices are really deeply connected to what you have going on with your body, okay? So let's jump in here and talk about it. Now, first and foremost, one of your ruling planets, Pluto, is going to do the long haul this year in Aquarius vibration. So this is where we're really going to start to see the long-term changes to your 4th house arena, home, family, real estate, property, your own emotional foundations, and of course, like physical living spaces. Now, Pluto's presence has been dipping in and out since 2023, okay? But now we're getting the full meal deal. We're going to work with it. But Pluto's presence here is, first of all, I want you to be mindful that this is a marking of a really significant period for you in everything that grounds who you are, everything that you have come from, and everything you will build from, because the transformation within this domestic area, the deepest part of our chart, is something that at this time you may be feeling yourself really compelled to explore more deeply your roots or to confront family dynamics that have been there for a while and now they're just really kind of in your face. Certainly, like I said, there's an undergoing of a pretty profound personal change, especially regarding how you feel like you belong in the world, in your family structure, what makes you feel like home. So, if there are things that have been buried, especially emotions unresolved family things, things around mothers, women. This transit is going to bring them to light, and it really gives you the opportunity to reshape this area, redefine what home means to you. So I want you to hear me right from the beginning. I know you're good at the depth. I know that you are. And sometimes the counselor, which is you, beautiful Scorpio, needs a counselor. So it's a great time to, embrace this feeling, this season of deep healing and introspection. Allow yourself to explore those family patterns and those emotional roots and really release what is not serving you anymore. Now, your other ruling planet, Mars, as we're coming into 2025, we're coming in with the brakes on. Mars is retrograde as we come into the year. And because Mars is a personal planet, we feel it, right? It's very close to us. When a planet's retrograde, it's also closer to the Earth. So we feel it. So we're starting this year with Mars retrograde in Leo in the 10th house for you. So your career, your public image, your reputation, what do we call you? Even if you're not in the room, what name do we know you by? So Mars doing its retrograde here is really bringing your attention to that area, especially your public image. What do we call you in public? What do you want to be known for? But the other side of that, Scorpio, is that I think that you're getting a really nice season right here to reevaluate your professional life in terms of, yes, you could be taking another job or something like that, but which direction you would like to go. And it's really like, what direction do you want to go? Not where is the wind pushing you, Scorpio? Where do you want to go? Now, it's still a Mars retrograde, so the ability to experience frustrations, delays around things with your career, all of these things are available. But what they are is a prompt for you to turn around and reflect. What is your motivation here? What's your ambition? What do you want here? So this transit is a time to slow down, reassess your professional path, make sure it aligns with your personal values, and more importantly, your long-term goals, because Leo is a fixed energy. Now, I would suggest avoid making any drastic career changes or jumping in to start a new professional project until Mars goes direct if you can avoid it. Now, just a day later on January 7th, we're going to see that Mars retrograde slides back into Cancer, okay? And we'll be in this vibration until February. So as we move into Cancer now, this is into the 9th house space, publishing, marketing, broadcasting, your beliefs, faith, philosophy, all things having to do with travel, which I love and I love for you, educational pursuits, including things having to do with certifications or you're teaching a class or something like that, okay? But as Mars is going to take the retrograde here, it's about your approach. How do you get this area done? So how do you do and how do you live your personal philosophies? What are your personal beliefs and philosophies, right? Because you may find yourself at this time, especially with the world changing so much, Scorpio, that you have to really reevaluate your whole world view, your spiritual practice, the places that you want to go or you have been educationally. This is a time for reflecting really on how well your beliefs align with your current path and your current reality, and revisiting things from the past, especially if it feels like something was unfinished or you're like, you know what, I really liked this thing. I would like to have more of this in my life, right? So you can see your clear path forward. January 11th, we see the true North Node moving into Pisces, lighting up your 5th house space, and that'll put that South Node in Virgo, lighting up and asking to release at the 11th house space. Now, the North Node here in your 5th house is a destiny energy pulling you forward, encouraging you to explore more creativity, explore some romance, some pleasure, some play. Let that self-expression be a little bit more pronounced and creative, and let it be soft. Let it be soft and agile, right? Let there be joy and pleasure in it. But also, I think that for many of you, because this is Pisces energy, there's some kind of release or surrender around not only your children, and they're going off to their next adventure, whatever that may be, but also you as a child. What are you surrendering and letting yourself dissolve from stories or connections from even your parents that you don't need anymore? And the interesting part, I think, is that while that South Node is traveling through Virgo, asking us to release it, it's release this tendency towards, first of all, overanalysis, analysis paralysis, perfectionism, especially for you in terms of social groups or groupings where you have been. One of the things I think will be the question of is, did I do this for a very long time and it served me and I served it very well, but it truly no longer brings me joy anymore? And there's a dissolving that's happening. So allowing yourself to work this axis, because when we come into a new axis, we do have to work it, right? Because we're being shown that we're too much heavy in the Virgo side and we need to move towards that Pisces side. So try to enjoy the connections and the friendships that you have and you make this year without the judgment. Surrender. Allow yourself to just be in the embrace of the creativity. Allow some of those rigid expectations of what things are supposed to look like, what you're supposed to look like, to begin to fall away, okay? All right, March 1st, we've got Venus retrograde in Aries. And again, this is a personal planet, so we are going to feel it. It's very close to us. So Venus retrograde is going to be lighting up your sixth house space. And you have done a lot of work in this last year in that sixth house and that Aries energy. So this is about your health, your wellness, your daily routines, your mental health and wellness. How do you care for, maybe you own a business or you work as an independent contractor or something? How do you care for those things? Your relationship with your coworkers, absolutely. Okay, as Venus is retrograde here, we're going to have this highlight to issues within those daily routines, certainly some self-care practices. This is Aries energy. So if you feel called to reassess how well your daily habits are actually supporting your well-being. And I do include mental health and well-being, because what's going on in that head of yours, Scorpio, is also playing directly into the body. And it may be crashing or supporting your productivity depending on the health of that relationship, okay? Now, truly, relationships with colleagues, coworkers, contracts maybe that you're pulling in, this could be a time where it's... Venus retrograde is going to bring it under some scrutiny, right? Like we're getting the magnifying glass out on this thing. And what it's doing is it's putting you in a position, it's giving you that prompt that says, address any unresolved conflicts right now. And or the other thing I can see here is it's like you have to redefine all kinds of boundaries in your daily routine. Now, again, this is a Venus retrograde, so I would avoid making any really drastic changes to your health or your routine or your work environment or any of those kinds of things. If you can, avoid it. But instead, focus on improving what's there and reflect on how conflict may be presenting itself somewhere here and what you can do to bring a little bit of smoothing to that, okay? Now, just behind that, we're going to have a full moon lunar eclipse. This is our first one for the year, and it's going to be March 14th in Virgo. So lighting up first a clear out of this 11th house space. So friends, social groupings, organizations that you maybe are aligned with, social media for sure, and anything having to do with your dreams and aspirations for yourself, Scorpio, okay? So this is an eclipse and it is powerful because you will be eclipsed. It will be reset in this area. So the spotlight here may put you in a position in this 11th house where you're like, I need to release some of these friendships, or maybe there's a group that you've always been a part of or an affiliation, you've been affiliated to it, and you're like, this is no longer within my values. This is, I need to gain some clarity, and these people are not in alignment. This organization's not in alignment. This way of thinking is no longer in alignment. So it is a great time to let go of that. But also because the South Node's traveling through Virgo, it's going to be a great time to let go of any societal expectations. Right? Allow yourself to form new connections in your life and let them be based on authenticity. Let them be based on shared values, of course, but also let them be based on being connected to people who are traveling in the same direction that you want to go. Because when we're releasing some of these societal expectations, it can even be that you had expectations from society that were from the world pre-Pluto in Capricorn, okay? And that world is gone. So you may be needing to use this time to really cultivate some new connections that align with the world that you're going to be living in now. Just behind that, March 29th, we've got a new moon solar eclipse. This one is in Aries. So our one last look to plant your seeds of intention, get the garden nice and juicy here in this sixth house area. Now, we're going to, like I said, plant your seeds of intention. This is a new moon solar eclipse, okay? So it's an ideal time to plant those seeds of intention to start daily routines or to develop a daily routine. And what you're going for here is you want to develop some kind of routine or practice that enhances your productivity, enhances your well-being, right? Or it's like it could be very Aries. You're like, I am taking control of my health. And that could be how you're feeling about it. Whatever it is, set your intentions for something pure. Set it for a good health regimen in your life, pure professional goals, a flow that works for you and makes you feel like it is your best life. All right, on March 30th, March is very busy. We've got Neptune moving into Aries, also into the 6th house space, which I think offers a little bit of help, Scorpio, because it's like with Neptune transiting here, first of all, there's compassion. So in the places where you feel like maybe I haven't been doing this right, or this has just been like all over the place, Neptune here brings compassion, brings a more spiritual energy to what you're working with, especially in terms of your daily routines. So if you are feeling more drawn to practices that are like promoting holistic well-being, whole person centered wellness, or you want to go into something that's more service oriented in terms of your work, Neptune's influence can help you here. It can help you be more creative, find the creative, softer approaches, right? Now, Neptune is still Neptune, and Neptune can blur the lines and the boundaries of things. So I do just want you to be mindful here as we walk with this transit that this can create challenge in maintaining the structured routines that you're maybe trying to put in place. But there's a bit of help for you as we get towards the summertime, because on May 24th, we see Saturn moving into Aries. Now, Saturn's presence here in your 6th house is going to bring that discipline. It's going to bring some grounding. It's like, hey, we need a more structured approach to our daily routine, to our health, to our wellness. So this transit is going to help to ground all that beautiful idealistic energy that Neptune is, dissolving old things, bringing new ideals. But this transit is going to encourage you to be like, that is great. We also need to put something grounded on the paper. Okay. Now, the other thing I like about Saturn here is that you may naturally just feel called to take responsibility for your health here. Nothing's making you, right? You're like, no, I want to create balance. I want consistency in my life. And, there's just a realism that comes with using Saturn here that I think can be beautiful and grounding. When we get to June 9th, now Jupiter moves into this Cancerian vibration, lighting up your 9th house space. And this is publishing, marketing, broadcasting, international travel, all of the educational pursuits, right? Your things having to do with faith, the legal system. Now, Jupiter is back here after a 12-year little break. So you can, first of all, go back 12 years ago and say, what was going on in my life at that particular time? So Jupiter traveling here in the 9th house is going to bring an opportunity, not only for the growth and the expansion that we know Jupiter to be optimistically, known for, but this is going to be a period of expanding, like I was saying in the beginning, your worldview. It's like it's getting completely reset. Maybe you're exploring new cultures. Hell, maybe the new culture, Scorpio, is a culture that has been alive and well in your own world, but you've never gone that direction. How many of you are going to be doing a deeper exploration with technology? And that is a completely new culture. For others of you, you may be looking at things around different countries, different languages, people in your life coming in who are very, very different than you, and you're getting to learn about that. Maybe you're expanding your learning or your faith practices through different traditions. Maybe you've always studied one belief system and now you want to see if another belief system or spiritual practice aligns more with your personal values today. Now, Jupiter just expands what it touches. So we want to also remember that whatever is already happening here, Jupiter will expand it. So if what is already happening for you is a set of beliefs that are actually limiting you, you don't feel like you're growing and you're alive and you're vibrant with them, Jupiter will expand that first. So sometimes a Jupiter transit can feel a little bit painful. I would encourage you highly to embrace the opportunities to expand your knowledge base, to travel, even if travel just means watching a walking video from your couch of Spain, Prague, Antarctica. Let yourself go outside of your normal realms so that you can use this transit to gain some different insight that will support your growth in the direction where you want to expand and it is in alignment with what you want to experience, okay? Now, just behind that, we will see that Jupiter on June 15th is going to square against Saturn. And then just a couple days later on the 19th, it'll square against Neptune. Now, as Jupiter squares against Saturn, first of all, it's just the tension between this energy of my desire to expand. I want to expand through learning, through travel, through all of these things. And then it's like Saturn's like, yeah, you still have responsibilities for your work and your daily routine. So you can feel challenged to balance that personal growth with practical commitments. But I think that here, Neptune actually helps to soften this dynamic tension just a little bit, because then where you're running into is the square between your ideals and your responsibilities, right? So Neptune, I think, can bring a softness here that just says we can grow, we can expand, but in order to pursue the dream and the goal, there has to be the practical steps in place. And so the combination of these particular energies working together can be in your favor. Now, the one thing I will say during these transits is please avoid, to the best of your ability, check in with yourself, over idealizing any belief, any dream you have, any person, any aspiration. Do your best to keep your head in the sky, but your feet also on the ground, and make realistic choices that will, yes, Scorpio, it will honor both your daily commitments that need to be done, but also the dreams that you're trying to build, okay? All right, when we get to July 7th, Uranus, woof, electricity moving into Gemini, more electricity, lighting up your 8th house space. So first of all, expect the unexpected. In the 8th house, we're doing intimacy. Lots of transformation, lots of shaking up in terms of intimacy. You see into me. This could also mean intimacy in terms of sex, your reproductive organs, financial shifts, any place where you have shared resources with another person, death, debt, taxes, inheritance. Any of these energies and spaces are going to have the unexpected changes, okay? But what are we going for here? This transit is an encouragement to, first of all, embrace the shakeup. Now, you're a fixed energy. You do not like to be shaken. There's no need for the jostling, right? But here we are. So use this transit to explore some unconventional approaches to your financial world, or maybe to your intimacy world. You know, if you're experiencing a lot of shifts in terms of shared resources, maybe something with an inheritance, or it's some matter, Scorpio, that is really digging into where you have to have a lot of trust and a lot of vulnerability is present. What I can share here is be open to new ways of how you're going to manage this. Be open to being open. Be open to seeing that some kind of financial partnership needs to have a real shift in the dynamics, okay? All right, when we get to July 31st, Saturn and Neptune come into that conjunction in Aries. And this conjunction, you know, they've been dancing so long together now in your 6th house space. It's just, again, about bringing more of a disciplined approach to any of the spiritual practices or health practices that you want to have in your life. So I would really use this transit at best to establish, first of all, what is the spiritual practice that supports your health and well-being? What is the spiritual grounded passion? Because it has to be grounded in compassion. There has to be compassion infused so much into your daily life, Scorpio, so that you can have the dream and the reality come together. September 7th brings us into our last full moon lunar eclipse of the year, and this one's in Pisces in that 5th house. So this eclipse, in the space of children, romance, pleasure, play, self-expression, this is more of a renewal. I feel like this particular eclipse is more of an emotional renewal. And if you go back to September of 2024, we already started to have a bit of conversation in this Pisces area. So now it's like we're having a pivot. You're being asked to end something, acknowledge something, or make an adjustment so that you can go more in alignment with more clarity in the direction you need to go here. But I do feel like this is more of a spiritual renewal in this area. So if you have had creative blocks or emotional attachments, even with your children or as a child to your parents, that have blocked you from fully expressing yourself, from fully moving some energy forward, this is the time to release that. Over the next 6 months, you'll be prompted and helped and guided to release, especially spiritually, from those things, to put up boundaries. This is a wonderful lunation to reconnect with what you are passionate about. Where is your passion, your play? Cultivate your joy. Cultivate your joy in your own expression, in your relationship. relationships, okay? So really reflect at this particular lunation on any of those blocks that are holding you back from enjoying your life, enjoying creativity, and also watch for how you can help your children or children to release theirs as well. Now, September 21st brings us to the new moon solar eclipse, and this one is in Virgo, back in that 11th house space. At the beginning of the year, we did a full moon lunar eclipse to clean this area out. Now, the garden has been weeded, it has been tended. Let's plant something new here. This eclipse, again in your social house, is a signal for the fresh start, the friendships, the social groupings, those aspirations we were talking about that have long-term implication. This is the time to plant your seeds of intention for building these relationships and connections and social spaces and a tribe that is meaningful, shares a collective goal, is in alignment with your personal values that you've gotten to get reestablished to as we've been traveling through 2025. And this may be the time too where you're feeling a bit more inspired in this next 6 months to join groups that resonate with you because you have a little bit more clarity. Whatever is coming for you in this very social area, I would encourage you in 2025, Scorpio, to embrace the opportunity to actively cultivate friendships, actively cultivate social connections that support your growth. And that doesn't mean that they're all the fun ones, right? Maybe if you are doing grief, if you are needing to learn about debt, if you are needing to learn about how to access your joy, but it includes walking through the muck just a little bit, that's okay too. Not everything is the weekend pottery class that we love so much. This is about what connections support your real growth, not just that surface level stuff. All right, talking about these beautiful cultivation of relationships, I'm going to pass you on, Scorpio, to the beautiful Rachel Lang to talk to you all about your relationships for 2025.
Hello, Scorpio, and welcome to your love and relationship horoscope for 2025. I'm Rachel Lang, and I'm an astrologer, an author, a speaker, teacher, and I am so excited to be giving you some information that can help you to have better loving relationships and more access to your heart this year. The big news for you is that Uranus, which is a planet that relates to shifting, changing, new beginnings, freedom, independence, Uranus has been really affecting your relationships. It's been in your opposite sign since 2018. And this year, it starts to migrate out of your sign into Gemini, even though it just hovers back and forth between Taurus and Gemini. And what that means for you is that all of those relationship questions and complications and uncertainties of the last several years can now reach some resolution. And the transit's still not complete, we're still not finished, but you can get some clarity this year that allows you to look back at the evolution of your love life over the last several years and understand why things happened the way they did and what it means for your future. Relationships of all sorts have been in a flux for you. It's been a little bit of a whirlwind. It's been a roller coaster ride with moving, with perhaps you've been involved in some of the hurricanes or floods, or maybe you have actually had a move and that has put stress on your relationship, or starting families. Lots of new beginnings have occurred in your life, and it's been especially pronounced over the last 3 years. So things don't quite get stable, but you get to have a glimpse of what it will look like when that transit's over, which it's over. Uranus is in Gemini all the way in April of next year. And we'll get into all of that. So here is an overview of those transits and the significant astrological events of 2025. And we start with shifting currents. The outer planets are changing signs. Neptune, Uranus, and Saturn all move back and forth between the signs they're in now and their next signs. And so there's a lot of movement, electrifying change. It's what's happening. Now, this isn't always comfortable for you fixed signs. So you want to just ride the waves of change and trust that they're taking you to a place that is more of an evolved place for you. It matches more of the evolved nature of you and who you are. Um, this is a tricky year for relationships, just overall. We have both of our relationship planets, Mars and Venus, going retrograde. We start the year right off with these retrograde cycles, asking us to really reconsider our relationships and how we feel in our relationships and what we need. And so I could see a lot of changes in relationships. So if you've been on the fence about wanting to date or wanting to get married or wanting to break up or divorce, if you've been on the fence about a major relationship decision this year, I think within the first quarter of the year, you're going to know what to do next. Eclipses are another big feature of this year, and we'll talk about that. And then that full moon in Taurus on November 5th is actually lovely for you. This is like one of those transits that invites you to embrace your self-love. And I just put it in there so that you have something to look forward to. November, things start to stabilize and settle down. December, they do too. And the bright news for all of the water signs, and especially you, is Jupiter in Cancer from July 9th of this year to July 29th of 2026. We start the year right away with Mars retrograde. Mars is your ruling planet by traditional astrology standards, which means that you're going to feel this. And what it feels like is it feels no matter what you do, you can't get that motivation up. Mars is going back and forth between Leo, which is a more challenging sign for you, and Cancer, which is a little bit easier. And so that first part of that retrograde cycle, which happens from December 6th until early January 7th, that first part of the cycle puts a lot of pressure on you, and you are really reevaluating all things related to the men in your life. So if you are romantically in relationships with anyone with a he, him pronoun, this especially applies for you. If you do embody that he, him pronoun, then this is a time when you want to be extra sensitive in the way that you communicate with your partner or in the way that you express yourself in the dating world. Things can be misunderstood, and you want to make sure you're not involved in any kind of power struggles. Mars retrograde is also a time when you just can let frustrations build up. This is especially true toward the end of the retrograde cycle from early January to February 23rd, when Mars is in Cancer. We don't have a lot of outlets for stress or pressure or anger or frustration when Mars is in Cancer. Everything builds up on the inside, and it can be passive aggressive. It can be a time when if you don't express yourself, it turns inward and you can feel depressed, or you can feel like your immune system can be compromised. So don't let those stressors get you down. And that's especially true too for resentment. Sometimes with Scorpios, I love you, Scorpio, and sometimes a lot happens underneath the surface that you're not bringing out into the open. And that can be a little tricky for you in relationships. It's like you have this whole inner world that is really rich and an imaginative and beautiful. Let people in, let them experience the heart of who you are, which is really loyal and loving. Don't be afraid to let that show. Neptune and Saturn are doing some interesting movement this year. And the way that relates to you is that it's like you've had a few years of actually Neptune's been in Pisces since 2012. So you've had an extended period of time where you have seen the highs and lows of romance. The highs being you're living the dream, meaning you're falling in love, or maybe falling in love all over again, traveling, aware of the ideals and the potential of your partner. And then Neptune can also be the lows of the bubble bursting and you realizing that your partner's just human, that they're not living up to their potential. And maybe you fell in love with potential and possibility and not with the person as they are right now. So as Neptune moves into Aries, it frees things up. Saturn is also moving into Aries. And so it's putting pressure, taking pressure away from your family life if you have children, or if you have small children, that has been influential in your relationship. If you have grown adult children, you might have had a hyper focus on just making sure their needs are taken care of. And how do you balance yourself and what you want, and how you're expressing your creativity with your children's needs and your family's needs and your partnership? So as Saturn moves into Aries, you get a break. It doesn't stay there the whole time, but it does give you enough of a break. Venus is also retrograde. And so from March 1st to April 12th, we've got this Venus retrograde period. March is full of mystery, intrigue, and change. We have the eclipses, we've got Venus retrograde, and this is one of those transits that actually relates to your health, your well-being. But as Venus goes retrograde, it starts to awaken for you the little nuances in your relationships that aren't quite working. And in particular, your relationships with your coworkers, your employees, your employers. It's like a time when all of that is up for reinvention, and you might be aware of the ways in which you work harder than everybody else, or you do more than everybody else. And so this retrograde cycle asks you to balance those scales. It's also important to prioritize having just enjoyable time with your loved ones, but especially if you're in a romantic relationship. We can get so habituated to the routines and the chores of our lives. And this Venus retrograde says, no, wait, take time to nurture the aspects of your life that may not have economic value, that may not be the top of mind. This is the time to be looking at the way you can relax and enjoy the people you love. The March eclipses are really powerful. And for you, these directly relate to your romantic relationships. During Venus retrograde, it's very possible for someone to come back into your life in a significant way, an ex-lover, an ex-partner. And those relationship reconnections that happen during retrogrades are usually times when we're reframing those relationships for ourselves, finishing business, not always the time when we want to jump back in full-hearted and get back into the relationship. There's just too much unknown. And so we want to go in carefully. We want to go in slowly to anything that comes into your life. Now, the exception to this is if you have natal retrograde. Sometimes that can be, Venus retrograde cycles can be the time when you are meeting the love of your life, but we just don't know. Go slowly. All of this Pisces energy says that things feel ungrounded. You might not have a real clear sense of where you're going in the relationship. If you're in a new relationship, this is a time when you could have some questions. Why aren't they calling me back right away? We had such a good communication flow going, and now it's not as tight. It could be a time when you're feeling, if you're single, you're feeling extra alone or wanting connection. Or maybe you're deciding, nope, this is good. I really like being in this space. Regardless of where you are in your love life journey, this is a healing influence. Saturn's influence right over here says this is a time of commitment. And I think we're going to see a lot of Scorpio relationship changes this year. In particular, if you're wanting to start a family, if your relationship is such to where you are deciding that it's time to have little children or adopt a child or even adopt a pet, this is a year where you have a lot of that creative energy that can relate to fertility. And this solar eclipse on March 29th, this is one of those eclipses where it has Venus right in between Neptune and the North Node right here. Venus is saying, pay attention to me. She'll actually be brighter in the sky because retrograde planets tend to be brighter. They look brighter. And so you won't be able to ignore the relationship questions on your heart and on your mind. In April, so March leads into April, we've got this Pluto opposite Mars transit. This is a lot of tension. But for you in particular, I think this is a point of power when you have the courage to take some of the internal dialogue and questions that have been going on in your mind about relationships and externalize them. Have those deep conversations. Mars is in Leo, so we've got a lot of passion. We've got a lot of romance. We can also have a lot of drama. So just make sure that you're not feeding too much of that drama. Then we have Jupiter in Cancer. I said this was going to be good for you. This is going to be good. Jupiter is in a water sign. Wherever Jupiter is, that's where we're seeing openings. We're seeing possibilities. There is a sense of abundance with Jupiter's influence. And Jupiter in Cancer is helping to inspire your faith in relationships. It's bringing joy back into home and to family, but it's really helping you to unpack the relationship beliefs from your childhood and whether or not they're serving you today. So this is a transit that lasts until July 29th of 2026. And I think it could, when we have strong Jupiter transits, we see things like moving into a new home, those milestone events that define our relationships. Those kinds of things happen with Jupiter in Cancer. It opens up opportunities of all kinds, but I think because relationships are such a theme for you this year, we're definitely talking about it there. I'm bringing in Mercury retrograde because that July Mercury retrograde is one that could bring some relationship miscommunications. And that's one of those sticky points in the year. So July 17th to August 11th, just make sure that you're not holding things back from someone or that you're not just difficulties under the rug, that you're really willing to get things into a visible place. Unpack those energetic bags of debris, of stuff, and work through them with your partner. This is one of those transits that can actually bring reunions, it can bring reconnections, and it can re-inspire love, passion in your relationship if things have felt flat. So if you can, try to get away, try to plan a vacation, do something that nurtures the very foundation of romance in your relationship. Rekindle that spark. The eclipses in September are also highlighted for you. These are relationship focused eclipses. We have the moon and the North Node and Saturn all in Pisces, and you see there's Saturn's at the last degree of a sign, Neptune's at the first degree of a sign. This signifies a lot of movement. And we have Eris, which is the goddess of discord, showing that any kind of unresolved hurt or pain, if it's not attended to, it could raise up a lot of discord and a fight because Mars is involved. You want to just have extra awareness of that as we move into the fall. The eclipse on September 21st is an exciting one. Here we have a lot of planets at the 29th degree, and these are, again, moving through points in your chart that relate to relationships. Friendships up here, and lover relationships, your relationships with your children down here, but relationships in general. This is a time of discerning who belongs, who doesn't. Be willing to weed out the relationships that drag you down or feel heavy or that you've outgrown. This is a kite aspect pattern, and it says it's go time. So if you've been thinking about taking your relationship to the next level, you've got the destination in sight, and it might be time to end the single life if you are so inspired. So those eclipses are change. Uranus in Gemini is definitely going to bring change to your relationships. It actually could bring a little bit of stability, and it opens up possibility for you and your partner to find new ways to share resources, to merge households if you've been living separately and you're getting ready to cohabitate. It says there's a new beginning in how we give and receive love and how we experience intimacy. But we're not quite finished just making sure this is the relationship we want or the relationship dynamics we want for the future. So Uranus dips back into Taurus on November 8th and stays there until April. And you get just a retrospective, a double checking sure you crossed off all the lists of the ways in which you have liberated yourself in relationships, the ways in which you've reworked and rewired your relationships, and the ways in which you have innovated change in those relationships. We end the year in a much more balanced place. On November 17th, we've got a lovely grand water trine that's going to involve your sign. And this brings healing. It brings stability. It brings compassion and helps you to sink into a stillness as we close out the year and enter the holiday season. And Capricorn season is one that signifies stability. So this is a time when you're picking out furniture for your new house. This is a time when you are looking at planning for the future. And this would also be a great time to take an end of the year trip just to take a deep breath and relax after all of the movement and change that's taking place this year. Here's your mood board for 2025. We've got the waves of change. We've got a prioritization of self-love, a returning back to the self. We've got a little bit of warrior energy with that Mars retrograde, but it's one that you're balanced within. And there's a lot of just rebalancing, recalibrating, and introspection this year. So that concludes our astrology for love and relationships for 2025. And please feel free to comment below. I'll be checking and seeing how I can answer your questions or offer you some support and encouragement as we move forward.
Scorpios, you guys have the North Node moving into Pisces in your fifth house. This governs creativity, children. It's the outpouring of the fourth house of foundations where you have extra energy. So these are your hobbies, speculative adventures, and stocks and things you want to bet on as well. So the North Node here in Pisces can lead to investments in creative real estate projects, such as properties for artistic communities, film projects, projects involving children like schools or playground developments, family properties can be reinvested into, or creative ventures rather than more of the straightforward types of reinvestment. So selling family property or selling something to finance a creative project or investment that aligns with your personal values, such as innovative housing or something that's eco-friendly or environmentally friendly or compassionate or caring for people, can be really, really beneficial, but it's going to require thorough research, especially because Neptune's going to join the North Node here, and that influence can create illusions, so you want to thoroughly investigate any investments to avoid any deceptive schemes here. But Neptune here in the fifth can inspire investments in any projects tied to creativity, art, education, compassion, taking care of the environment. So this can look like, solar powered educational centers or creative spaces that have a sustainability element to them. You can invest in those or take part in such projects as well. Now, Mars is in Cancer in your ninth house. When the ninth, this talks about, meaning of life, it gets philosophical. It's about soul searching and journeys and God and, what is meaning for me? Academic settings, publications, podcasting. These are things that we're either severing or cutting or moving forward from here. And so Mars includes foreign investments in which we're ending or beginning new things related to higher education and long distance travel. So refinancing loans can be connected to funding overseas real estate or higher education for children, or refinancing loans for your own education in general, where you're like, I don't like that rate anymore. I want to be done with that. I'm going to Mars cut that off and pursue this rate that's better. Legal matters surrounding debts can become significant, especially if they're related to any international ventures as well. So refinancing looks good here. It can be a really optimal period to really consolidate debts as well. The full moon in Virgo on the 11th talks about long-term goals, networks, and technology. The full moon in Virgo can bring promotions or new opportunities with health-related technology fields or companies involved in really large-scale humanitarian projects. So this can enhance financial stability through your networking, your groups, people who are like a big brother or big sister to you, or getting involved in any networking or involving yourself in any medical or tech startups, or getting involved in any social media or writing or speaking projects as well. So seek opportunities in larger organizations or technology-driven health industries. Those will do very well under this energy. Venus is going to retrograde in Aries in your sixth, and so that also talks about reevaluating your work routines and your health or any service-oriented jobs. So we want to avoid risky investments or just kind of rethink them during this time until Venus moves forward. Launching a new business after the new moon solar eclipse might be something that some of you guys are doing, in the sense that this eclipse can highlight new beginnings in your work or health sector for some of you. So launching a new business related to wellness, medical service, or a new career, or even fitness can be lucrative if you plan it properly. Some of you might be like physical trainers or something like that, or just doing some research into these fields. It's a good time to be bold, but just be well prepared. It's really ideal for innovative approaches to well-being or daily routines for people or for yourself as well. Neptune entering Aries in your sixth talks about community health projects or fitness ventures as well. Neptune in Aries can really inspire action towards health and wellness initiatives. We just want to be careful of any unrealistic goals. These can even be health projects that you even find crowdfunding for. Just set clear, tangible goals for these health projects to avoid Neptune's potential for confusion. And you might really be able to generate the interest in what you need from people, seeing that you're really compassionate and caring about what you're trying to shift here as it relates to health for others. Saturn in Aries talks about emphasizing discipline in health as well, daily routines and work habits. So long-term investments in health, education, or wellness can really bring some slow and steady financial growth with Saturn here. So thinking about health and daily routines and work habits for the long term with Saturn's influence, doing daily efforts every day, preventative health measures too, this can be really positive. Jupiter in Cancer in the ninth talks about inheritance or shared resources coming through like a foreign relative or foreign investment, especially if it's connected to your higher education, spiritual practices, university, or something you want to study. So you can use money for those things. And estate planning involving any foreign assets, if that's your situation, or educational trust can be useful if that's your situation as well. Uranus in Gemini in the eighth talks about shared finances and transformation, undergoing some unexpected changes for several years, and maybe even shaking up this area of your life with tech-related investments or joint ventures can be quite lucrative as it relates to markets. And so being open to cutting-edge technologies here, particularly with fintech and crypto, green energy projects or real estate projects tied to creativity or education can come up. You just really want to be cautious with these, Scorpios. So this can really expand the wellness sector for you guys through innovative health ventures. This can bring long-term stability for you as it relates to your income, especially if you avoid any risky moves while Venus is retrograde, or just with Neptune's influence, making sure that you're not partnering with people or getting into any ventures that are going to mislead you or have any bad actors or just not have the clarity that's needed for success. Okay. And then you guys have had Pluto moving through Capricorn since 2008. It's brought a lot of transformation and change in neighborhood and siblings with neighbors and stuff like that. So now it's in Aquarius in the fourth. And so this talks about bringing power and death and transformation and changes that go deep as it relates to origin and family. So in some ways there could be some deep hidden wealth as it relates to understanding family dynamics. There could be some inheritance there. There could be something related to property or precious metals, things deep underground. So gold, silver, oil, things that are, dug up under the ground, gas. That can be a Neptune story as well. Precious metals can be very good wealth, or being someone who amasses big amounts of land can be, or buying and selling of land or legacy wealth, legacy land, investing in mines Investing in real estate for some of you guys can be very lucrative. And even foreign shores, international companies or businesses that work into all those sectors I mentioned as well can really increase success for a lot of Scorpios from an investment perspective as well. Again, this is more of the long term stuff. From the Pluto and Aquarius perspective, this is a 20-year transit. And combined with what we talked about here with Neptune's movement and Saturn's movement, these are a lot of slow moving planets talking about big wealth. So if we can be patient and not be deluded, some of you Scorpios can come into some very lucrative opportunities that benefit you for the decades to come. So with that, if you are curious about what assets or stocks or companies look well for 2025, my 2025 yearly report dives into ETFs, stocks, and sectors that are likely to do well and when they're likely to do well. And so you can check that out. And if you want to know more about how these generalized transits are in fact impacting you personally, you can reach out to me and book a session. And with that, be well, one love to you, Scorpios, and peace.
Hi, everybody. I'm Kira Sutherland, and I am doing health astrology for 2025. So super excited to be asked to do this. And we are on to Scorpio. So, oh my gosh, I love every sign, but I find you fascinating, Scorpios. And health-wise, always interesting, your dynamics and what you're up to. So what is happening for Scorpio in 2025? First thing to bring to your attention is we are entering the year with Mars retro, January 1st till about the 14th, 15th of Feb, depends where you live. We are having Mars, your traditional ruling planet, going retrograde in Leo. So also square to you or your rising sign or your moon. And it's interesting. I always think it's really interesting when when your ruling personal planet goes retrograde, because it is. I mean, retrogrades are a time for us all to reassess, but especially Mars retrograde. Where have we been spending energy that we actually need to stop doing and reverse that energy and keep it for ourselves, or maybe start into a different direction? Where, Mars is how we do our action and our drive. It's our warrior. It is also our adrenals and a little bit of our immune system, because our immune system is like a warrior in battle. And with that being in Leo, squaring to you, there's an adjustment it's asking you to make. I don't need you to start 2025 gung-ho, all guns blazing with sport and change. We're actually it's like we're driving a car and our foot is off the gas. Do you actually have to put the foot on the brake? Depends on what you've been up to, but it's like, I need you to just sit in neutral, and allow the engine to run and think about where you want to be driving for the rest of the year, especially to do with your health. You have other things that are going to impact it as well, hopefully positive. But I really want you to think about your energy expenditure and where you could be using it more wisely. It's a great time to, starting the new year, I actually think should be this nourishing time, not this like bang, go do stuff. So really supporting those adrenals, which is ruled by Mars, and the immune system. But the adrenals do really well with magnesium-rich foods, B vitamin foods. If you're into taking herbs or herbal teas, please check any contraindication with medications with your healthcare practitioner. But this is where the adaptogens come in, be they Schisandra or the ginsengs or maca. There's, oh my gosh, adaptogens. There's a beautiful one called Codonopsis, which is like a digestive tonic, gives you a little bit more iron, but a gentle support to the adrenals, because you Scorpios push it hard and you're strong, and of all the water signs, you have the strongest constitution, but sometimes you will over push and not realize when you need to rest. So I really think those first 5 to 6 weeks of January is nourishing those adrenals, because there is so much other change that's going to happen this year, and especially activating your chart. There's 3 Mercury retrogrades this year. The third one is actually happening in November from Sag to Scorpio as well. But all of the Mercury retros, again, we have this Mars retro where I'm asking you to take the foot off the gas, nourish, reassess. And then each time you hit a Mercury retro, again, step back. How can I physically support myself a little bit better? It's those, I think we need to do more action and retraction, because with that fixed water, you will push and push. And I want you to play with the retraction process, or remember, there's a waxing and a waning part to every moon. I almost want you to use those retros a bit like a waning moon time. When it's Mercury retro, we want to nourish the nervous system. We want to do some deep breathing and grounding and replenish before we're pushing hard again. We also have, as you would be very aware, your modern ruler, if we're going to do anything modern, is Pluto. And Pluto has had a little hint into Aquarius, gone back to Capricorn. It's going to dally around there again. And with it moving into a fixed sign eventually, again, it's a great year. This is a great year for you to kind of prep yourself for some big shifts. Yeah, making some changes this year where you've been thinking about making those changes, but you haven't quite done it yet. It's a great time to do it this year. Huge change, but like deep, great. Those 3 or 4 things you've always wanted to do for your health. Do it before Pluto is permanently into a fixed sign, because once it's there, sometimes you have to make changes that aren't always the ones you wanted to make. So I'm kind of giving this as a prep year. Really get yourself prepped and you'll be in a great space. What else did I want to tell you? I think the last big thing for you, you rule so many fascinating body areas. You have the reproductive organs, like the genital area. You have this deep urges, DNA, genetics, large intestines, bowels, detoxification channels of the body. And I think it's a great year to get some of the detoxification channels really happy and flourishing, be it saunas, steam rooms, spas or hot tubs, exercise, the easy detoxes, right? Shifting to more fruits and veg in the diet, which are a lot more alkaline. Dark green veggies. You know what I love about Scorpio as well is you get rulership of a lot of the really beautiful foods, those deep red, like cherries and beets or beetroot, red cabbage, a lot of the sulfur foods, the cabbage foods are amazing. That the cruciferous family, so broccoli, cauliflower, cabbage, Brussels sprouts. I don't like Brussels sprouts, but you might. They're all great for you, and those detoxification channels, dry skin brushing, really just bring yourself to a bit of a reset this year. And especially with Uranus, which has been in Taurus opposite you for the last almost 7 years, it is eventually heading off into Gemini. And Uranus is about radical change, and fixed signs don't overly love radical change. So it's probably been interesting with this opposition for a while, but use the rest of this Uranian energy to make some radical change in also, because this was opposite you in Taurus versus Scorpio, how you give your energy and help others change versus the change you want to do for yourself. So I think it's going to be a pretty amazing year. You're not doing eclipses. You're not, things are moving on. And it's just time for you to nourish, detox, do a little bit of a reset. And, the visual I get is lots of green soups or veggies, and just keeping those channels open for all the amazing change that's gonna happen. So yeah, that's my Scorpio stuff for you for the year. Have fun. I actually think it's gonna be a pretty fun year for Scorpio.
Hey, fellow Scorpio, I'm Tiffany Harelik, and I'm here to give you your 2025 spiritual forecast. So before we jump in, hop into the description box and be sure you download your 2025 horoscope PDF so you can follow along throughout today's presentation, and then you'll also have it all year. So while you're doing that, let me tell you a little bit about the numerology. I love adding the flavor of the numerology with the astrology just because it creates this beautiful tapestry of information for us to explore. So the numerology is a 9 this year, and that really matches the intensity of the Scorpio energy. The numerology breaks down life into 9-year cycles, and so this is the end. This is the end of one 9-year cycle, and with that come endings, culminations, breakthroughs. We have this sense of urgency to tidy something up or tie up loose ends or complete projects that have been nagging us. There can be this, desire to come to terms with something. So it's a big year for transitions because there are beginnings within endings, there are pathways within pathways, and the 9 offers us this opportunity to integrate, but also to really enjoy the fruits of the harvest of the seeds that we've been planting for the last 9 years. So I'm really excited for you this year. Hopefully you had a chance to download your free PDF, and I am going to get this party started. So again, I'm Tiffany Harelik, and one more quick party favor for you. If you want to use the code STORMY2025, we have a $10 off coupon for you for the Wise Skies digital astrology calendar. And so this astrology calendar goes on any device, no matter what device you use or what calendar system you use. You can download it and incorporate it right where you are making your plans. It includes all of the planetary aspects. It includes the lunations, the new moons, the full moons. It includes the void of course periods, the eclipses, the retrogrades, everything that you're going to need to know. And it's so fun because it travels with you through any time zone. So we also have the paperback journal that goes along with it. But I want you to stay tuned for more goodies and codes. But check out Stormy 2025, use that coupon code and get your copy of the 2025 calendar. All right, Scorpio, what we're going to do today is look at the planets in spiritual development. We're going to do just quickly. Then we're going to do a quarterly breakdown of what each quarter you can expect. And then we're going to look at your major theme for 2025. And so being a 4 planets in Scorpio kind of a girl, I was really excited to look at this forecast for you. So I hope you enjoy it. In terms of planets and spiritual development, I think about Mercury as our mindset, which flavors everything. Everything that you do is going to be filtered through the mind. And so Mercury, it shows us, it represents how healthy our mindset is. Mercury also represents our nervous system. And so when we're making decisions based on, if you're considering nervous system, we've got fight, flight, fright, and freeze, and then a place of neutrality. So we want to be making decisions from a place of neutrality. And if you're studying yourself in terms of spiritual development, you're going to want to see, how do I act? What are the quality of my decisions when I'm coming from a place of freeze? How do I spend? How do I relate to other people? If I'm in fight or flight, what are the quality of my decisions then? Do I overspend? Am I more conservative? Do I lash out? Do I give people the cold shoulder? And so Mercury can really show you a lot about your spiritual development. Venus, it's not just love and money, but also how we spend and receive energy. Mars, you could write a spiritual mission statement based on where your Mars is in your natal chart. Jupiter shows us our big faith. Saturn shows us our spiritual discipline. Uranus shows us the groups of people that we hang out with that can hold us accountable, and propel us forward into a future thinking direction for our life. It's our spiritual network. Neptune shows what needs to dissolve in order to evolve. Pluto shows that subconscious gold, the secrets or the things that are like beneath the surface, the areas where we tend to self-sabotage are the same areas where our redemption story and our spiritual testimony comes through. Chiron represents the master healer. The moon represents our intuition and our psychic abilities and gifts. You were all born wise. All of you Scorpios out there are super psychic. You have a natural ability, right, to hear spirit, to hear the voice of your higher power. So if you want extra training in that, I invite you to check out 40 Days of Spirit. This is an email product that you get 1 email a day, and it gives you tools and strategies to build and develop your psychic abilities. So yes, the moon, if we're going to talk about the moon in spiritual development, also, of course, the nodes. So the north node represents the head of the dragon, the thing that we are reaching for, grasping, leaning into, embracing, chewing, digesting, right? And then the south node represents the tail of the dragon. So what we are eliminating, taking away, removing, and releasing. The outer planets in 2025, Pluto's staying the same. This is going to anchor us in what your main theme is for the year. So make sure you stick around to the end of the video to figure that one out. And then in terms of what's changing, we've got 4 outer planets changing signs, and they're pretty dramatic changes, right? And so the year 2025 is going to have a whole different texture, a whole different flavor to it, especially spring and summer. Okay. So Scorpio, the first quarter of the year, you are going to be leaning into your friend groups. You're going to be leaning into your small groups, your spiritual circles, the people that you do yoga with, that you go to church with, the people that are in your ashrams or your the centers for your spiritual development, right? You want to lean into that, and you want to develop new levels of trust. It's so easy for us Scorpios to have a wall around our heart, right? Because there's some reason that you had to develop a coping mechanism as part of your survival strategy early on. And so as we grow and mature in our spiritual walk, right, those walls can come down. And so I want to just encourage you to connect with a group of like-minded people. Yes, they're just people. Yes, they're still people, I should say. But I want you to lean in and start to trust more. In January, the nodes are going to shift from Aries Libra, which is me, we, into Virgo Pisces, which is the mental wellness and spiritual wellness continuum. So Virgo ruled by Mercury, Pisces ruled by Neptune. This is a duality or an opportunity to work with the practical side of Mercury and the spiritual side of Neptune. So what we are eliminating in the south tail of the dragon, or the south node, the end of the tail of the dragon, are going to be kind of the challenging sides of Virgo, right? So being nitpicky, being overly critical, overcommitting, helping people that don't ask for help. And of course, this fade in my lineage is fixing, arguing, defending, and explaining. So if you get caught in arguing and justifying and any of those things, fading, then that's your clue. Aha, I think I'm trying to control a situation. I think I'm trying to manage something that isn't mine to manage. I think I'm not feeling heard, and so this is your clue to take a step back and observe, why am I having this need to fix, argue, defend, or explain? So what to embrace with the North Node in Pisces, right? What to embrace are going to be the positive side of the Pisces. So the Pisces themes, which are being more creative, being more in the flow. Scorpio, you are a fixed sign. You have your mind made up most of the time. You know what you want. You know where you're going. But could you lean into the possibility that spirit wants to co-create something with you, through you, for you, right? That life isn't happening to you, that it's happening from you, and that you have a part to play, but you've got to lean into that spiritual co-creation. So you and your higher power. Pisces represents forgiveness. It represents a dreamy state. So maybe following your dreams or allowing yourself to dream a little dream. Embracing your creativity is going to be huge this year. So I can't wait to see what all the Scorpios are out there producing. So for this nodal shift for you, Scorpio, right? Embracing creativity, romance, joy, the things that bring passion, that light you up, that allow your inner child to play a little bit more. Yes, you have your responsibilities and your duties, but also there's a side of you that just needs to let loose. With the South Node in Virgo, this is a reminder to you, Scorpio, that it doesn't have to be perfect, that you can follow your heart, that you don't have to do the next all you have to do is the next right thing. You don't have to do the next thing right. You don't have to be perfect. And then also a reminder that people aren't perfect. So if you have certain standards or expectations of people, especially with your friends and social groups, is this an opportunity to kind of lighten up a little bit, let them off the hook? Okay. So, right, when my yoga teacher, the first time I had class with her, I couldn't move my feet in the way that other people could because I have a lot of scar tissue on my feet. And after class, she said, does anybody have questions? Come visit me. So I did. And I said, I can't move my feet like everybody else can. I just wanted to be this beautiful, perfect yogi like everybody else in class. And my body can't do some of those things. And she said, it sounds like you have an expectation. And it was the best like yoga burn I've ever had. She was so right. I had a total expectation that I should be able to do something that I cannot physically do, which is insanity, right? And so this is just a reminder that we don't have to have these hard lines of expectations, that we can lean into that Pisces and try to go with the flow a little bit better. So a defining moment of the year comes here in February with Saturn and Neptune really, really close together in the skies. We are going to track and trace this as they move together through the end of Pisces and into Aries. It's going to be a really interesting thing to study over 2025, 2026, and beyond. So Saturn represents the banks of the river, borders, boundaries, the container. Neptune is the river itself, right? The need to be free, the need to flow, that creative spirit that comes with them. Saturn is serious business. Neptune is our spiritual walk. And that's why spirituality becomes serious business for all of us, right? So this is a year when we will lean into our spiritual disciplines like none other, when we will lean into or away from our faith as we start to figure out what does and doesn't work, in our own spiritual walk. Saturn represents reality. Neptune is fantasy, what we want it to be and what it really is. And so finding, the dualities available to embrace and explore and work with, right? Integrating structure, Saturn, into our spiritual studies. So that could really be a huge part, a huge significant thing to anchor your intentions into this year. As we start out the year, Mars is retrograde. It will go direct in February, but Mars retrograde acts like a mini Venus in the skies. So there's a little, it's a softer edge to it. Mars retrograde in Cancer, there can be a tendency where people have repressed emotions, pushed down emotions, and they start coming out sideways. And so if you see people are having kind of emotional reactions, mood swings, they are experiencing internal conflicts. And this is where knowing the astrology gives you that kind of upper hand to be able to give people space for grace, to be able to give them compassion, to be able to not take things personally and say, hey, it looks like you're really disturbed about something. I bet it's not about the insert topic, right? So Scorpio, so Mars retrograde slows things down. This is one of the planets that fuels your sign. And so there could be a lack of momentum in terms of your spiritual path, Cancer, right? There can be delays in travel and anything that you're trying to study. It could be just like taking you a little bit longer to get the knack of, no problem. It's a really good time for soul searching, going deep within, being more introspective, focusing on your own emotional healing instead of just going on these big adventures. And so this first quarter of the year, you might consider that. Now, as Mars goes direct, Venus and then Mercury go retrograde. So Venus retrograde acts like a mini Mars in the sky. There's a little more edge to her step. Retrograde periods help us reevaluate, reassess, reconsider, and resolve. Venus is about love and money and the way that we give and receive our precious human life force energy, who we spend time with, right? And so what you can do is reconnect, right, with old friends, old lovers, old acquaintances. You can review your finances and your financial stewardship. You can make heart-to-heart connections, right? All of these things. What not to do is to basically make any big, huge, drastic, long-lasting decisions, because we're usually having buyer's remorse, or there can be a tendency to regret these big, huge changes when it comes to something regarding the way that you look, and decisions around love and money. So just go slow. Again, don't fade, don't start arguments, don't engage in conflicts, right? Don't be tricked into it. Just be like, aha, that's what that is. And I'm stepping out of that. For you, Scorpio, old romantic feelings can be stirred up either from past lovers or your current love. You want to reflect on whether you've truly moved on, if there's any lingering issues to resolve in your own heart. You are going to feel a sense of closure and peace and completion. You are going to have this ability to love like you've never loved before, with the full passion of your whole heart. And wherever you are is perfect. So your heart has different needs, and you have a higher power that's guiding you through all of that. So that's what I'm saying. Lean into your spiritual walk. You're not alone. All right, Mercury retrogrades about the same time. We talked about Mercury in terms of the nervous system and the quality of our decisions. Mercury retrograde for you, Scorpio, here it is in Aries and Pisces. And so we're going to take some extra reconsideration when it comes to romance, when it comes to children and creativity. There can be miscommunications in romance, at work, and with our creative projects. So as long as we go slow and kind of repeat, here's what I hear you say, right? Here's the action that you want me to take. Here's the la la la. Here's how you feel, and here's what you'd like me to do about it. Whatever the conversation is, it's worth repeating for clarity. Because I love you so much, I want to make sure I understand where you're coming from. This is what I hear you saying, right? You're going to, reconnect with what you love. You're going to be mindful of your health routines, routine maintenance when it comes to health. On here for you, Scorpio, right? Scorpio rules elimination. So it rules not only our elimination organs, but also our sex organs. So any routine maintenance you can do with your sex organs or your elimination organs are going to be really helpful. Liver cleansing, colonics, etc. I am not a medical doctor. I am just a fellow Scorpio offering some ideas for this retrograde cycle. So definitely get with your doctor on that. All right, 2 eclipses in March this year and 2 later in September. The March 14th lunar eclipse in Virgo, this is a power surge or outage, so there's too much energy or not enough when it comes to Virgo things, which a lot of people are going to experience this as work. So you might be flooded with a lot of work or no work at all. We're not going to panic either way, because this eclipse moment is illustrating what is broken, what is not like on firm foundation, so that we can go ahead and rebuild. There is a huge reality check for all of us when it comes to health and routine. This eclipse, actually, the themes started back in September of 2023. So you might want to work with your astrologer on what themes are going on in your life that started back in September and will culminate in December of this year. So Scorpio, friendships, social networks come into the spotlight. That's why I had that quote in the beginning of this quarter. You get by with a little help from your friends. You might have an epiphany about your role within your community. Do you want to be of service to a certain group? You might find clarity about a particular friendship. Is this one that was here for a season or a reason or a lifetime? You might get some more information and have clarity about it. It's a good time to assess whether your social life is supporting your long-term goals, and just, if you're in the right place. The second one, March 29th, is a new moon solar eclipse in 9 degrees of Aries. It kicks off a new 2.5-year cycle that starts here in March and culminates in June of 2027, which is a fascinating year to study in astrology. Aries eclipses, right? Aries and Scorpio, both ruled by Mars. So Mars is a fire planet, right? Like there's watch for fire hazards, be cautious with, the things that we tend to get really feisty, peppery, have some sort of dramatic decision. You want to be aware of heated moments and be cautious about heated moments and decisions that are made kind of on a whim. And so we see people that are making big, huge, dramatic decisions around quitting jobs, getting divorces, getting married, moving. And so you just want to be aware, like, has the pressure built and I have to make this decision and it's a release, and this eclipse kind of gave me what I needed, the clarity to be able to move forward? Or am I having kind of an emotional reaction and I'm making a decision from an emotional place instead of a place of clarity? That's why it's important to study Mercury in your chart and learn more about how your nervous system gets activated, and then also how you neutralize it to come to a place of clarity in your decisions. So this eclipse energizes our health and daily routine sector. So we are going to want to always take care of your health and wellness, but especially this year, as you're going into eclipse season, make sure your immune systems are up, make sure your physical health is up, make sure your mental health is as neutral and positive as it can be, and just go into this with the best mindset possible. The daily routines is everything that we do, the information we put into our minds, it's what we eat, it's how much we move around and exercise, it's our work environment, the conversations we have with friends. And so I want you to be aware that this is a moment where you can really start all new habits in any area of life. This is a really hot and fresh new beginning. And I also just want to remind all of us that eclipses, they have their moment up to 90 days in advance. So you may experience your eclipse moment up to 90 days in advance, and it might not be the same day as your friend or your family or your colleagues or your pets, right? So don't sweat the date. Just be mindful, like, oh, that was my Aries eclipse moment, or oh, that was my Virgo eclipse moment. Okay, Neptune moves into Aries also at the end of this quarter, and Neptune has been in Pisces since 2011. Neptune in Pisces is like film and cinema and fantasy and escapism and yoga, right? And so Neptune moving from this beautiful water, compassionate, ethereal sign of Pisces into hot, fiery, pioneering, peppery Aries is a big shift, right? It's a big shift. And Neptune ruled Pisces, so it's happy to be there. So the shift into a fire sign is very, very different energy. So there are the dates for you. Just a reminder that Neptune dissolves what needs to go, and Aries brings forth what needs to be birthed, okay? So Neptune in Aries, my friend Celeste Brooks and I were talking about this, and Neptune represents fate, Aries represents free will. So I have curly hair, that's fate. How I style it, whether I straighten it, curl it, tie it up, whatever, put it into braids, that's free will, right? So Scorpio, this is a big deal. I really want you to invest in yourself. I want you to evaluate your daily routines, your health practices, the quality of conversations you're having, the quality of people that you involve yourself with. Consider new wellness journeys. An example of this would be like, hey, you want to get your yoga teacher certification under your belt. Hey, you want to go deeper in some aspect of your life. You don't have to get all the certificates, you don't have to do all the things, but there's some opportunity for you to really invest in yourself, and that could just be changing your routine. I want you to embrace the practical changes that enhance your well-being. And on the challenging side of Neptune, which can create confusion, delusion, illusions, right? Be cautious of doing unrealistic health trends or schemes. So don't buy into everything. Trust your intuition, right? Trust your intuition. All right, here we go. This is another opportunity. This is like blending the invest in yourself theme. So Neptune and Saturn moving into Aries, investing in yourself. And so knowing that you are beautiful, knowing that you are powerful, knowing that you are chosen, right? Knowing that you're never alone. This is a time of year when you can really make some big changes by investing in yourself, by loving yourself. So Saturn into Aries, right? Here are the dates for you over here. Saturn represents that military granddad in the skies. That's how I think of Saturn, where it's like, this is a guy that knows a plan, that has strategy, that's there early, that has the bones and the discipline and the strategy and the practical nature and has long-term vision. Saturn represents our elders. It represents where we have to be more mature. It represents our duties. It also represents our fears, things that we are afraid of facing. All right, so Saturn into Aries, right? Aries is about the self. Saturn is about discipline. So we are learning self-discipline in a new way, all of us. And Saturn rules elder care. It rules bones and teeth. So I think we're going to see some developments with elder care facilities, dentistry, optometry, chiropractic, of course. Scorpio, are you ready to feel the best you've ever felt? Are you ready to feel like strength and vitality and total wellness and biochemical neutrality and clear-headedness and focus, all of these things? This is a great opportunity to start a new foundation over the next 2.5-year period while Saturn is in Aries for you to get new structures and processes that help your health. So lean in, invest in yourself. Jupiter moves into Cancer. I'm excited about this one. Jupiter is that benevolent force in the sky that is the cosmic magnifying glass that makes everything bigger, right? And so when Jupiter was in Gemini, there's a flooding of information, too much information overload. But when it moves into Cancer, right, which is the sign of the mother and the nurse and the intuitive counselor, this is where Jupiter is exalted, right? And so we're going to see themes in real estate expansion, kitchen renovation, family growth, and enhanced intuition. Jupiter rules more than that. Jupiter represents our faith in God and our higher power. Jupiter represents the judge and legislation and laws and fairness and justice. It represents foreign trade and foreign languages and long journeys and travel. And so some people will be traveling home, right? Making the long journey home to your soul, home to yourself, right? Okay. Jupiter, faith, Cancer, family. So faith and family, a big signature of this astrological event. For you, Scorpio, this is going to be a time when you might consider faith-based travel or mission work. This is going to be a time when you're drawn to explore different philosophies, different worldviews, taking a different spiritual journey, a sabbatical, a pilgrimage, long-distance travel, and learning foreign languages is like astrology and psychic work are foreign languages. I had this beautiful dream, right, about the stars and how the stars are this language and how astrology is this language. And ever since, I've just been fascinated with astrology since 2000. And so I love teaching people astrology because it's a language that we can all use. It's the language of the seasons of life. And so this might be your time to really study astrology. It might be your time to really study your psychic abilities and your intuition. Don't hire a psychic, become one. Follow your intuition, not somebody else's intuition for you. All right, Scorpio, as Mercury retrogrades in Leo, this is another fixed sign, all right? So this is going to really square off with some of who you are, all right? So Mercury retrograde in another fixed sign, Leo. Now, this is going to activate your career sector. So this could be a change in career. This could be making some edits with how you present yourself in the world. It could be making some discovery about your midheaven and your purpose and how your purpose unfolds in this precious human life, reworking your work and your public image. There can be setbacks and delays, Mercury retrograde at work, no problem. Just accept them as cosmic blessings in disguise, and maybe don't launch a product during that time. It's not the best time to ask for a lot of money or promote yourself or put yourself out there in a new way. It's a time to be editing and reflecting. Could be a time when you're having lunch with an old boss or colleagues or something. Okay. As we go into July through September, I've got the power, right? That's a song. But this is nuanced. So this is a season where you are going to learn about power and resources as a Scorpio, and to be a good steward of power and resources and understand that whole spectrum of power versus powerlessness. And really, it's the power of being powerless, of surrendering to a higher power. of not you being in control of everything with your vision. You can make anything happen. I know you can, Scorpio. And that is the culture. That's what our culture will tell you how to manifest, and you're going to be good at it. But there is something for you once you decide that I'm not in control here. I'm surrendered to a higher power, a creative force that's wanting to happen through me. So I've got the power doesn't mean that you have the power. It means that you are the power, you're allowing the power to move through you as a creative channel. So Uranus has been in Taurus. Uranus is the great awakener, shock and awe, big changes. It's kind of that roller coaster feeling, that excitement, also some fear, some trembling, some big change. You know, with Uranus, you want to be like a leaf on a fast-moving stream. It's been in Taurus, which is body, sensuality, material possessions, food, finances, farming. It's moving in to Gemini, right? From earth to air. And so Gemini is about information exchange, ideas, right? Think about controlling the airwaves in some ways, radical rebellion with the airwaves. We're also going to see themes that have replayed themselves in history. So the last times that Uranus were in Gemini, we've seen some of these themes. The United States was in war. The first aerial photography was invented. So maybe some advancements with drones or drone legislation. The Carrington event. So we might see more solar flares, solar eruptions, studies around that. We'll see education reform. People are going to want new ways to share information. And we're going to see themes in genetics, space communication, self-driving cars, extreme weather. Gemini rules the wrists and hands and shoulders and lungs. And so we're going to see innovations in the healthcare world with that too. Scorpio, you're gonna, for you particularly, this is where I'm talking about I've got the power. You are going to be looking at shared resources, shared finances, unexpected revelations when it comes to your finances that help you with significant changes. Where do you want to break free? What do you want to be free from? What do you want to be free for? You're going to be studying new ways to manage and understand shared assets, and that could be separating from something. That could be where you're becoming more self-sufficient in some ways. And you're going to be learning about the deepest human bonds. You're going to be learning about power versus powerlessness and the gift of surrender, right? The gift of it. So the two eclipses here in September, the first one is a full moon lunar eclipse in Pisces. The Pisces eclipses tend to be more draining. We can be more tired. Things feel more nebulous, a little bit more confusing. In 2024, on the Pisces eclipse, we had a lot of media around water-based events. My friend had mold in her house. We had a pool close, like a community pool, because there was a pipe situation. We had a water boil notice. So you'll see some of these themes, right? This isn't to worry you or concern you, but hey, maybe you want to have your water purification system in place before then. Your Pisces needs to disintegrate and dissolve something. So we want to be ready to let something go, to let something fall apart, to surrender, right? And so Scorpio, you're going to have some emotional breakthroughs when it comes to your creative projects, your romance, or any relationships you have with children, including your inner child. This eclipse encourages you to let go of old creative blocks or any narratives or stories you have around that, and just get into that creative side. Again, I can't wait to see what Scorpios create this year. You're going to have more clarity around your romantic relationships or situationships. This is going to help you move forward with more emotional awareness. So yeah, this is part of a cycle that started in March of 2024 and will end in June of 2026. So study those patterns with your astrologer. Now, September 21st, the new moon solar eclipse in 29 degrees of Virgo. So 29 degrees is the anaretic degree. It can create a lot of indecision and pressure. And so already this is like a heightened feeling. And this Virgo, right, eclipse is a repeat from the first eclipse of the year. And there's going to be that similar vibe, a lot of work or none at all, or a lot of health focus or a focus on what isn't happening that needs to happen with health. You are going to have new developments in your social life and your community involvement. So this is going to be a time that kind of rattles you into a leadership role or to step back from a leadership role. There's something going on with your groups and the community. This eclipse is going to encourage you to start new projects or initiatives related to your social networks, right? So you are building meaningful connections and contributing to causes that you care about. Maybe you have met some cause on your big adventures or the pilgrimages or the travel that you have made this year, and you're like, this is how my community can help your community. There will be something around those themes. Now, this is a new moon solar eclipse, so this is starting a new 2.5-year cycle, and it will culminate in December of 2027, which is a really interesting year to study in astrology. All right, we made it to the end of the year, Scorpio. I want you to focus on your house and your home as a sanctuary. I want you to nest. I want you to, I want you to get just really solid with your home and make it a place that you run to and not away from. There's a Mercury retrograde period. The third and final one is in November. So all November, Mercury will be retrograde. And it's in your sign. A little bit of Sag, a lot of Scorpio. You are reinventing yourself, Scorpio. You are making personal edits. You are reallocating resources. You are redoing your financial planning. You are doing routine maintenance when it comes to budget, and then also yourself. You're going to be conservative with finances and major purchases. You're going to study what you think, your Mercury, your mindset, your nervous system. What does your nervous system feel when you think about provision? What does provision mean to you now? What did it used to mean? What could it mean? Right? Provision. Study that. You are going under a personal identity and self-image renewal, right? You're going to see yourself differently by the end of this cycle, and you're refining your own personal goals. So take time and go slow. Your main theme, Scorpio, is Sanctuary Scorpio. Your home and family life are areas of deep, deep transformation with Pluto and Aquarius until 2043. You have a long time to work with the concept of Sanctuary Scorpio, but your home is a sacred place. It is a place for sanctuary. It is a place for worship. It is a place for prayer. It's a place for meditation and yoga and spiritual development and studying the scriptures with your friend group or like-minded people. It's a place to have a free thinkers meeting. It's a place to really bring in the spiritual qualities into your own home and focus on the stewardship of your home. Transform your living environment where you live into a temple of personal and spiritual significance. This is huge, Scorpio, right? This is huge. So if you need to have a space in your home and time in your day that is devoted to you having a relationship with your higher power, with spirit. This has to start in the home first before you go out in the world, right? You have to fill your cup first before you go out there. And so this is a big, huge thing. It sounds like a simple thing. Focus on your house, but it's huge. When you look out into your home, what is an area of your biggest lament, right? And then what does that say about you? How does your current home situation, what does that say about you? What is it reflecting to you? If you're feeling cluttered, are you feeling a sense of overwhelm? What can you do about that? If your desk has spindly little legs, what does that say about the foundation of your work? If your kitchen is not organized, what does that say about how much you're caring about the food that you're putting into your body? So this is a time to start really focusing on Sanctuary Scorpio. Okay, guys, one last time, if you want to use that coupon Stormy 2025 for the digital astrology calendar, you can have astrology in your back pocket or for your phone or your tablet or your laptop, wherever you use calendar systems. And it goes with you in any time zone. We also have a paper version for people that are wanting a paperback journal. But this is the electronic version. It's what it looks like. It shows you, when you click on the description, it pulls out a bigger lesson in astrology. It tells you what to look for. It tells you when this same energy is occurring throughout the year. It gives you some resources that are free. And then, on and on with the moon's cycles, with the moon family cycles, it shows you all the dates so that you can start to study and trace your own patterns. It offers Sabian symbols and fixed star nuances, and I think you're going to love it. So if you'd like to stay connected with me, I'm Tiffany Harelik. You can find me at tiffanyharelik.com. Make sure you get your free horoscope PDF. I'm on YouTube. I have a podcast. I send out a Friday forecast newsletter every Friday. I offer a spiritual development membership for ongoing support. I mentioned 40 Days of Spirit. So if you are studying your spiritual abilities, your psychic abilities, this is 40 days of email that will help you enhance your intuition and understand the unique ways that you receive intuitive information. I offer retreats. In 2024, we did Tulum and Austin. They were awesome. And in 2025, I'm doing Santa Fe and Malibu, and I would love to come wherever you are. My final message for you, Scorpio, and all of us is to love each other. We are here for a good time, not a long time. Don't waste it. Love yourselves, love each other. And honestly, guys, on behalf of the 2025 forecast team, we are so honored you're here with us. Please check back throughout the year because we have more goodies coming your way. We are wishing you a prosperous and loving new year in 2025. And we're just so thankful that you're here. We love the ability to share astrology with you. So until next time, namaste.